Hey everybody, Movie Review Next Story here, and I'm back with another review. This time I saw Guardian Angel. This is a 1994 action film directed by Richard W. Munchkin, and it stars Cynthia Rothrock, let me rephrase that. Cynthia Rothrock, Daniel McVicker, Liddy Dunier, John O'Leary, Robert Miano, and Marshall Artigue. In this film, detective turned bodyguard Cynthia McKay is hired by Hobbs, a playboy. With vendetta in her heart, McKay accompanies the flamboyantly playful womanizer through the glamorous world of the super rich as his protector. In a unique role reversal, it is the woman protecting the man from another woman, erupting into a deadly triangle of passion, suspense, and action. So, what did I think of Guardian Angel? Well, I've done a short review on this film before, loved it the first time, and I do still really like this film, but I did notice some things watching it again. I'll get to that after the cast. Cynthia Rothrock as. What the hell? That's not her name. It says her name is Cynthia McKay. What is up with this? Her name is Christine. Christine McKay. Cynthia Rothrock as Christine McKay. She does a decent job here. Again, she isn't one of the better actors in action films. Understandable. I'd say her performance in what was that one? Sworn to Justice. I'd say she did a quite a bit better in Sworn to Justice as she tried to have more of a range. There are certain scenes that don't work 100% in that movie too, but here I think she did perfectly fine. Daniel, she still kills in the martial arts because it doesn't feel like they're trying to be overly showy. They're trying to be sort of more grounded in realism, and she's doing her own fights, which is awesome, and a lot of her own stunts it seems. And I'll get to that. Daniel McVicker plays Hobbs, this kind of playboy womanizer kind of guy. He hasn't been in a ton of films. A lot of other films he's been in, it seems like he's not the main character. He's a smaller part. This seems to be one of his only starring roles, and he's not too bad in this, actually. He's pretty good. He plays the playboy role well, but he becomes more of an actual character throughout the film, and you find more about his backstory, and he's actually a pretty interesting character. Lydie Dunier as Nina, she's the villain. She kills Cynthia Rothrock's soon-to-be husband. She's she's so-so. I can't really say that she's really good or anything because she isn't. Um, she's not. She doesn't ruin the film. I can at least say that she doesn't ruin the film. She is one of my issues with the film though. Um, John O'Leary plays Clayton, who is basically the butler of Hobbs. He does a good job. Robert Miano plays David. He's somebody who works with Nina. He has these like plates for fake money. Um, he has some pretty decent scenes actually. He's not in the film a lot, but he is an actor that's in a lot of PM Entertainment's films. He's been in 142 films. He's definitely an experienced actor, and it's always nice to see him in films. Um, and Marshall, well, just a second. Marshall Artigue is Nick, the play. No, he's not the playboy. I'm sorry. I'm having I'm having a rough night. Marshall Artigue plays Nick, who is Cynthia's soon-to-be husband, who is killed. He only has one or two scenes, really. He's not a big character. I do kind of wish they'd, worked up to his death, but still, he does do a bad job. But here's the thing with this film. This film has very opposing ratings on different sites. On Letterboxd, it has a 3.0 out of 5, which is a pretty decent score. Pretty great score, if you ask me. And on IMDb, it has like a 4.9. Um, I'd more close to agree with the 3.0, but I really enjoy this film. I do. Um, again, it does have its issues, and I'll get to those, but overall, it does what it says on the tin. It is a very fast-paced action film with characters that I actually grew to enjoy. I really like what Cynthia Rothrock does with this character, and I think she plays it well, and she knows her strengths. I don't think Cynthia Rothrock ever tried to she has tried to be a bit more dramatic. She has tried more dramatic roles before, Beyond the Law or Beyond what was the other one? I have to look it up. But in Sworn to Justice, she tried to do something a bit different. Outside the Law was pretty decent. I remember it being pretty decent. Same director as Turbulence 3. What the hell? Turbulence 3 and Omen 4. Oh jeez. But yeah, she has tried before to do that, branch out, and I do think more often than not she succeeds in that. I don't think she's an amazing actress though. I do think that these films understand what they are. And the company that released these types of films is called PM Entertainment. Um uh they've made a ton of films like this, like Hologram Man, Skyscraper, Rage, Riot, Recoil. Recoil's an awesome action film. I'll have to do a longer review on that. Firepower, The Sweeper, T-Force, uh, Zero Tolerance with Robert Patrick, Repo Jake. Yeah, it, it's a company, Last Man Standing. It's a company that makes a lot of those films where they take these small budgets and really stretch them. They're one of the best dollar for dollar production companies of their time, and it sucks that they aren't around anymore. And it sucks a lot of their movies when they started to go downhill really show it. Um, and yeah, I guess you could compare them to a company like Millennium, but Millennium is still around, still making movies. Um, and I hope Millennium could go back to the way it used to be, where you had those types of movies where they'd spend a lot of money on the action and try to get actors could that weren't just names. They got actors who are talented at martial arts or at fighting and that you believe in the fight scenes. And with this film, I think they did that. Now, again, there's always the thing of, oh, a woman against multiple guys. That doesn't really happen in this film other than a couple times, but it makes sense uh what it makes sense in the context of the scene. uh and yeah, there's quite a bit of impressive action in this film. Now, it's not one of PM's other movies like Recoil. One of the things I loved about Recoil was that it started off strong and it ended strong. It and it had little bits of action spread throughout, and that is an issue I have with a lot of action movies is that they'll have a strong opening and an okay middle, and then the ending kind of falls flat. Or there's nothing happening throughout the middle of the movie and it's only at the beginning and ending, which I do think is bad pacing. If you spread action throughout the film and have story happen, then action, story, action, that type of thing, I think you can make a very well-paced action film. But if you put everything at the beginning or everything at the end, then you create a very boring movie with fun shit at the ending or beginning. This film does both. It has an amazing opening, a pretty decent ending. I won't say the ending lives up to all the other action in the film, but it does end with some decent fighting and a pretty decent explosion. But yeah, this is one of those movies that just kind of again, it understands what it is. It is an action film. It is not going for an Oscar. It is not going for awards. It is going for entertainment, which is what I look for in a film. I look to be entertained. I don't want to be lectured, and that's one of the problems I have with this film. I don't think it's not a thing that keeps going on and on throughout the movie and it does hammer it into your head a couple times, but it does get a bit irritating when it happens because there's literally a conversation that a character that turns out to be evil has with another character where he's like, my issue with the female cop is that I'm okay with a woman sitting behind the desk, but I don't want an emotional woman next to me in the field. And then later it's like, why did you ask for a female bodyguard when you could have had a male bodyguard? What is wrong with you? Do you trust women or something? And I'm glad this shit has died down to some point because again, if a movie is gonna have stuff like that, I'd rather it not be this movie. I'd rather it just be like, okay, she's a badass that happens to be female, not just, oh, she's a badass because she's female, which is annoying. Um, Again, the whole point of the film it doesn't make it the entire thing of the film, but it is something that pops up randomly that I'm not a fan of in any movie. I hate being lectured to in films. I just want to enjoy the film. I want to have fun watching an action film, marveling at the action sequences, and I just want to be enthralled. That's all I want. I'm a simple man. Um, but yeah, this director worked with PM quite often. He worked on, yeah, he worked on Ring of Fire, um, Out for Blood, which I have seen Out for Blood. I thought was pretty fun. Deadly Bet, I think, was one of them. Yeah, PM Entertainment, Jeff Wincott. Um, Ring of Fire 2, Blood and Steel. Uh, and he also worked on a movie called Texas Payback, which I don't know what it is. Appar- Apparently Sam J. Jones is in it. Interesting. But yeah, this director seems to understand what he's doing with the action direction because there's some pretty nice sequences in this film. There's there's a couple decent shootouts. This isn't I like this and Recoil for different reasons. Recoil for the insane like gunfights and also the some bits of martial arts, and this film for mostly the martial arts and the small bits of gunplay, which it's very good gunplay. It's nice and violent. Um, it's shot well so that you know what's going on, and that's what PM Entertainment does best. Now, there are times in these films where it feels like they didn't dress the set 100% to what they should have. I remember there was a clip in a film from them called The Sweeper with C. Thomas Howell, where there was a hospital room and it just seemed like mostly a white room with an IV drip. And yes, stuff like that can stick out for certain people. For me, it does stick out for a little bit, but I'm sorry, something's in my eye. It doesn't, it can stick out for most people, but for me, I'm mostly like I'm mostly into the world already because the action is very well done and they're not relying on a bunch of CGI, probably because CGI wasn't really a big thing and a lot of lower budget movies like these can't afford CGI. Now they have used CGI before. There was a film Hologram Man where there's a bit of it, but they don't use it so much that it becomes noticeable. It's mostly like your normal like little CGI enhancements, kind of like in Goldeneye. But yeah, this film there's not a ton to talk about with this film. I will say my favorite action sequence. There's a really cool, really nice horse chase. Um, or horseback chase. Yeah, there's a nice horseback chase. Um, and there's some really nice stunts in it. There's a bit where Cynthia like falls off of her horse after getting shot, and then is like stuck in a loop on the horse, and the horse just keeps like dragging her, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's a really nice stunt, and I hope the stunt actor got paid well. If it was a stunt actor, I can't tell. I'm not good with realizing stunt actors, but it seems like Cynthia Rothrock was at least doing some of her own horse riding because there are scenes where you can very obviously tell she's on a horse. And I guess I liked the sequence. Well, I mean, all the action I think is well done. I mean, it has its moments where it maybe like a shot should have cut a little faster because some hits didn't register 100%, but still, this is again what I want in an action film. It's practical, nice and violent when it needs to be. Um, and yeah, I recommend it to people looking for an old-timey action film that where they want just like straight action, no bullshit. And yeah, that was my review of Guardian Angel from 1994. If you've seen the film, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you have any recommendations, please put those in the comments. And movie reviewer next door out.